Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Laura Silverman. I'm the creative director here at Castel, and I see a lot of familiar faces here with us today. But for those of you who may have not been to our showroom before, welcome. We are a fabric house that is founded by my husband, Stefan Silverman, who is French by birth but American by upbringing. And our company is much in the same way, where we're very ingrained with European textiles and style, but have American style quick service. Thank you all for coming here today. I'd also like to thank the Decorative Furnishings Association for co-hosting this event with us today. We are proud to be members of the DFA. We really feel that they are driving a lot of positive change in our industry. And if you're not a member, we encourage you to become one. And we'll get our panel started. I wanted to introduce our moderator today, Jennifer Cohler Mason. Jennifer is a New York City-based designer who's known for her distinctive, comfortable, luxurious style. She has done projects in the city as well as the Hamptons, Connecticut, Palm Beach, and beyond. She has been published in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Gallery Magazine, Cottages and Gardens, HGTV, just to name a few. And we're thrilled to have her with us today, and I'll turn it over to her and let her introduce the rest of our panelists. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We're very happy to be here today. Great showroom to have this panel discussion too, one of our favorites. So today we're talking about shared visions and collaborations between designers and architects and beyond, not just those two design entities. And today we have with us Kathryn, Mike, Judy, and Richard. And I'll have each of them just give you a little bit about themselves and what they do, and then we can get into the whole collaborative discussion.
Hey, I'm Kathryn Scott, Kathryn Scott Design Studio. I've been doing luxury residential work since 1980, aging myself, and I love it. It is my passion, and I'm really happy to be here. I've been in business since 1994, and have recently moved to the Hudson Valley. So right before COVID.
Smart.
That's pretty much it, right?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Daddio from M. Daddio Inc. We're a high-end residential building firm. We love design. We're not any good at it, but we really appreciate, good design when we see it, and working, collaborating with a lot of New York City's greatest designers and architects. I wish I lived in the Hudson, Hudson River Valley, but we moved from Brooklyn out to Port Washington on Long Island with my wife and 3 kids. We need a little more space, so I'm glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Judy Dunne from Butter and Eggs Interiors. I run a residential interior design firm, primarily residential, and we have been around for a better part of 20 years. And like Kathryn, I kind of love what I do, what our team does, and we continue to be immensely passionate about making great interiors for clients. And part of that is my collaborator, Richard Hayes, who I will turn it over to.
Thank you very much. I'm Richard Hayes. I work for Alexander Gorlin Architects. Unfortunately, Alex couldn't be here today, so I'm taking his place, and I worked for Alex for approaching 30 years. He was one of my teachers in architecture school, and I love to collaborate.
Great. And in this industry really is all about collaboration. So that's a great thing. I think all of us up here, and probably all of you, feel that way. You have to love it and love to collaborate. You always we, never me. It's team, no matter if it's your own team or extended. So that said, these two are here by design because they both collaborated on a townhouse that Kathryn owns in Brooklyn. And why don't you kick it off and tell us a little bit about how you got together?
First, I want to say that I did not plan a renovation. I did not expect to be renovating my townhouse, but the neighbor caused damage with their renovation, and then it kind of put me in a position of having to repair it. And as I started repairing things, the list grew. More things broke. And then became, while I'm at it, I might as well fix this too, because I don't want to do this again the rest of my life. That started around 2016, and believe it, I'm just finishing up. And that's partly because of COVID, and it's partly because of the way things happened. But I will say that now more than ever, it's important to have someone that you can count on and trust. And Mike came in after I had partially started, because I thought I was only going to fix painting and plaster.
And Kathryn, some of your images, so you may want to talk to some of what's on the screen.
So this is the parlor, living room, dining room. There are 3 apartments in this building. For many years, I lived in the whole house because I had an extended family then, and now that's not the case. My mother was with us, and so on and so on. So anyway, all of this has been renovated over the years, and things started to needed to be addressed again after all this time. So that's trying to bring back the feeling of an old vintage house from the mid-1800s, perhaps better than it ever was, and inspired by a lot of the museum houses in Newport. Very dangerous.
Also because we're always the shoemaker's kids. I feel like in the design world, right? We're the last to do our own. We're our hardest client.
Except for I always use myself as an experimentation.
As a guinea pig, that's right.
Yes.
I always say it's a fresh canvas.
So just at the time when I was working with somebody and they said after COVID, I don't know if I can come back. Shortly after that, I met Mike, and he agreed to help me and finish this. And thank God for that. Oh, my gosh.
And I think our collaboration started over margaritas.
Yeah.
Right? A few years back. Yeah.
As any good collaboration.
Agreed. A little tequila.
But it's really fun, Kathryn, honestly, working with you on this project. And one of the things I thought was kind of the driving drum was authenticity.
Yeah.
Right? Everything that we wanted to do, everything you wanted, your entire vision was very much about being true to the character of the home, making sure that we were able to repair the finishes that were there previously. Right. I thought some of the most beautiful things were the Venetian plasters and the lime wash paints. And you've got one of the most difficult perspectives because you have such a good eye. So every time we're trying to figure out, how does this paint match with this paint, and how do we blend this Venetian plaster or this lime wash finish into another one that may have been existing. It was, your eye was like, that's a little bit too gray, and let's tune that back a little bit. And
you have to be very patient as a contractor or painter with us.
Of course, yeah. One of the things I thought that might be interesting is, I was thinking about how contractors, architects, and designers, work together and collaborate. And in many ways, unlike a painter that might be creating a piece of art, we're very much separated in the visionary and the executioner. So, the visionary, you being you, and us trying to understand what is really the intent, and then trying to be the person and the craftspeople to execute on that. So collaboration, to me, is the only way that those two things can come together.
Well, it's paramount because at the end of the project, you can't know that you had a different point of view and you had a different point of view. Because
you don't want that.
The house needs to speak to each other. Each room needs to talk to each other and flow.
Right.
That said, you guys down there.
I was busy looking at there was great photos.
Just curious, these two met because you brought Mike into the project. I think yours is slightly different, right? How you two got together. So
I've known Alex for about 20 years, so not as long as Richard has known him. But so Alex and I have collaborated on a few different projects. And so I had the great fortune to be brought into this one when the house was designed, but it was sort of like the exterior container. And I was brought on board and joined the whole team and was able to collaborate on all of the interiors and really the great vision, which was the house itself, first of all. The great collaboration, which Alex and Richard
So
came
it's
up
on the
with.
screen now. Then.
Oh, perfect. Was that, first of all, it's a collaboration with this site, which is magnificent. And they created this amazing volume within that you can barely see. So you're on this beautiful lake and you cannot see it from across the lake. And I'm going to let you take that because I won't do the architecture justice, Richard.
Well, I think as we discussed the other day, I mean, one of the initial collaborative efforts was with the team and nature. And it was so important to the clients as well as to Alex that the house be sympathetically sited and relate to its beautiful natural setting. And I think that was the first stage in collaboration.
And then in terms of materials, they used a lot of local materials in the stone, in the wood, and coming into the house, then we embraced that and sort of kept going with, when you walk into, you're getting a view of the foyer, there's a bronzed barnwood. And if you follow down the hall, there are these beautiful hand-painted panels that are meant to look like onyx, but onyx doesn't come that big. And we were able to also bring in other collaborators, Alex Turco, the artisan designer, among many of the people who collaborated. So our team just grew with artists and furniture designers, and as much talent as we could pack in this house, we did. And actually, I think that's probably a Castel fabric, as a matter of fact, on that chair, just as a sidebar.
Beautiful. We love how you brought the outside in
Well,
this house, too.
It was all about the palette of making you feel like no matter where you were in the house, you had a sense of the outdoors. And that started with the client, who they absolutely love the outdoors, and it just was reflected over and over again in the fabrics, the materials, whether it be stone or Venetian plaster, and even extending to the artwork.
Why don't you talk about that art? We discussed that.
That was a piece we commissioned with a Canadian artist, and going back to the client for collaboration, she had seen something, a small piece somewhere, and said, go find this artist, please, I like them. And so that expanded into a collaboration of not one but two pieces that we did with this wonderful woman, Linda Wells.
So a great example of collaborating, again,
Absolutely.
extending past the architect, the designer, finding those special artisans and craftsmen that are going to set this project or any other project apart from just being a box, right, with furniture.
Exactly, not a random box filled with stuff, but a thoughtful volume that is really nestled into the side of the hill, and is respectful of the site and also inviting, the outside in, and then it invites you back out. So it was also meant to feel like, and I think it does, the photos don't do it justice, it really feels like it's just been there forever. So it was just a foregone conclusion. It's a constant collaboration with nature, though. I think in this one, is that kind of the overarching, repeating, that was, I think, their mandate when they started, is they kind of said...
Right, exactly. That's such a beautiful site, as well as Tuxedo Park is such an important locale in American architectural history. And it was important for everyone, for the owners as well as the design team, to acknowledge the significance of this site that brings together both the beauty of nature and historical importance.
And Richard, for those people who don't know, Tuxedo Park is probably 45 minutes from the city. It's a gated community, one of the few gated communities. You need to know somebody to enter, so I suggest everybody find a friend who lives there, make friends with somebody, because it is truly a magical place, and the architecture is incredible throughout.
There's a great golf course there, too.
They do. They do.
So going back to Kathryn and Mike, do you want to talk about some of the problems or issues that you ran up against and how you worked through those and collaborated to?
I'm not sure where to begin with that.
Every project has a number of them, and that's, I think, the reality. We all have to just make sure that we understand as we go into it. And I've always found that the best way to deal with those is just being fully transparent, being honest, and just raising your hand as soon as something comes up. Because I think the illusion of a perfect process is something that many people try to achieve, and I kind of feel like you have to embrace that level of uncertainty and just focus on the honesty and the transparency. And I know that there were the Department of Building is something that is an evolving bureaucracy, and there's lots of different new code requirements that happen and come out on a yearly basis. And we had to deal with sprinkler engineering and new RPZs.
Richard is shaking his head. Do you want to add anything to that?
You're more an expert than I am.
No, I just thoroughly agree with what you're saying. So.
I think the New York City gas requirements threw a few hurdles at you, Kathryn.
Just about the time when I thought the light was at the end of the tunnel, we're almost done, I found out to close a plumbing permit, I would have to change all the gas pipes in the building because they were the wrong diameter. So you can imagine when everything is starting to look like it's finished, to tear it all up. And then, I mean, what you're saying, this is where collaboration makes a big difference, because in order to access those gas pipes, that meant sometimes cutting through plaster moldings, cutting through cabinetry, cutting through tile walls, and those materials aren't necessarily available the same. So you got to make sure that you get the right people to repair them, make it look like it's seamless and that it is right again. It's
on a timely basis.
Well, with COVID, nothing's on a timely basis anymore. Hopefully one day we'll experience that again, but right now we pretty much accept that it is what it is. Just to get somebody available and get the right person available.
And it's
so
the right
hard.
person.
Yes.
You don't want to just hire anybody.
That's right. So that's his department. I don't have to worry that way.
And you're still friends.
Yeah, we still enjoy margaritas. We have to have one. But yeah, it's hard to find electricians. It's hard to find plumbers. Everybody is super busy. We're fortunate enough to have a very small group of people that we keep busy all the time, which is kind of how we can have that reliable, kind of group that's always available to us.
Yeah, his plumber saved us too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
We count on him every time that we have an issue, and there's things keep popping up.
So loyalty is also very important in collaboration.
Absolutely.
Because you want to go back to the well of those people that you keep near and dear to you, and they'll know it and they'll take care of you.
I would. Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say it helps to relieve some of the stress when something goes wrong.
Yes.
To know that you've got someone to help you get through it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would add to that it's when I always say to our team, it's when things go wrong. Those are how people step up to the plate is really the important thing, because something will go wrong.
Yeah.
Always.
And on that project, things came up that were not anticipated, and it was about how we all work together to kind of work through speed bumps.
Problem solvers.
I think that's most of what my job is. That's definitely most of what your job is. And so it's every day is a problem-solving challenge, and you have to enjoy that or get into another line of work.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Quote from Alex, and I wrote it down to get it correctly. And Alex said, "Collaboration is a great dance, creating something better than either had imagined separately." And I thought that was a nice definition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very nice. I agree.
And I think it's so important now with COVID changing how we work and changing the amount of people available to have, and have people that you know you can count on. It's really, really important. So,
Yeah, we all know it takes 6 to 9 months to get a refrigerator now, right? It's like you just throw that in the loop.
Sub-zero, 18 to 24 months.
Right, yeah.
gosh.
I was
Yeah.
told Sub-Zero, we're not giving you a delivery date.
Oh, they're not now.
They're-
Wow.
it's-
last
It's
week,
like Lotto.
Last week it was. It's truly a very different world. Our new normal, which I still can't say it's normal. It's definitely new, and I think the most difficult thing in talking about collaborations, because you also need to collaborate with your client, right? Because at the end of the day, the client, we want nothing more for them than to be happy. So COVID has thrown a big wrench in that, right? In the beginning, it was like, if I hear one more time that COVID caused this late delivery, or, and now it's a real thing. Furniture that used to take 12 to 16 weeks were being quoted 12 to 24 and upwards of 24 months. I mean, you guys can talk to the wood supply issues as well. Gas is driving. I mean, there's so many tiers that are causing.
Absolutely. With we have our own millwork shop in Ronkonkoma on Long Island, and just to get custom veneers and woods, it might take us 8 weeks to get certain layups and specific veneers that we want to be getting, in addition to the lead time of a typical kind of custom fabricated millwork piece.
So nothing can happen until the veneer arrives.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. So we've kind of justified a little bit, adjusted by adding a purchasing department to our company. So this way, we're trying to get ahead of every single purchase early on. But in many ways, the client is left disappointed no matter what, because everything's just going to take longer.
Yeah.
And Richard, do you find that things are you're telling clients to build a house that may have taken 16 months or what?
Yes, absolutely. But, that's just the world we're living in today. And I think clients understand that. They've been remarkably understanding.
I think it goes back to the honesty and the transparency from the beginning.
Yes.
Right? And just maintaining that level of expectation with the client and the management of them, up front, and just always being consistently honest.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Well, and also a lot of communication. I mean, we're constantly in communication, and we're getting furniture vendors quoting up to 40 weeks with a straight face.
Domestic or?
Oh, one big, very, very big showroom in particular. Most things are quoted at 40 weeks now. And so we have to deliver the message to our
It's a
clients
year.
with a straight face.
At the end of the day, it's a year.
Absolutely. But we're also just making sure we're transparent with clients and getting out in front of it and saying, it's 40 weeks, get used to it. Like, it's going to be great when it's done.
Which is why I also say to my fellow designers, architects, builders, here's the chance to go green, buy vintage, do those, get instant gratification, throw in a beautiful vintage piece. You'll have to needle in the haystack perhaps, but it does, and it will add another beautiful layer to a room. I mean, we all in this industry love a good vintage piece, so I do think that's
a really good point.
That's
Very
been my lifesaver.
I bet. Yeah.
So there is that.
The good COVID byproduct is that there are a lot more pieces out there because everybody's wanted to renovate. That's why we're all so busy. But also people are sending their furniture out. I mean, we often have clients, and I think every project. Like, what do I do with my old furniture? So we're big supporters of those venues that will
Resale.
resell the furniture
Donate.
that we don't want to see on
That's
the project, but we'd love to see rehomed somewhere rather than
right.
going to any sort of landfill.
No, and I do think we all need to think much more in that mindset of being green, because there's too much stuff out there.
Very true.
It's hard every time you go into a new condo in Manhattan and you're asked to rip it all apart, right? You kind of like, we do that all the
You don't-
time.
Or the
Everybody
tear
here-
downs.
You don't
Or
save
the
it?
tear down.
You can't.
There's those, a lot of companies build it green, other companies that we try to, take those appliances and bring it to them. So this way there's benefit to the client. They get a tax write-off, right? But still, it's sad.
It is sad.
A lot of life in all of these renovations can feel a little bit wasteful.
We do try to repurpose when
Yeah.
we do that, if there's somebody on the job who may want that kitchen.
Yes.
Or we're taking out a bar right now in a Long Island home, and somebody wants it. One of the trades that works for this client said, "May I have it?" And it's like, absolutely, made him happy. It's great. So I have just everything to the junkyard.
Right, exactly.
Some of the things I upgraded, I did like that. I took out an old refrigerator. It wasn't broken. Just I knew that eventually it would, and it was large. I took it out and replaced it with a new one and gave it to one of the workers, as long as he could get it out of the house.
Yes.
He found a way.
So that served you well.
Yes.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, Richard? Or
I just wanted to compliment this beautiful project. Thank
you.
they are both outstanding.
Agreed.
They're beautiful,
Yours
both
too.
of them. You guys should be very proud.
It seems to have so many layers.
It's a full townhouse, so that's part of it. But yes, it has a beautiful structure, and over the years I've renovated different parts, 3 different occasions. I've really hit the whole house now. So, and a lot of it was restoring, copying old moldings that had only a piece left, and even the parlor living room was a bigger room in order to fit a bathroom and a small elevator in that floor when my mother moved in. I copied the plaster molding, and it's not easy to find an artisan who can do that kind of work. But you'd never know. You look at it and everything looks intact because all the moldings were copied from something that was there or from the neighbors who their houses were built at the same time. And I would go research the neighbor's house if mine didn't survive.
Very smart. Yeah.
I love how clean it
Absolutely
is.
stunning.
So your neighbors were co-collaborators.
Yeah, once upon a time. That was a while back. It's the same neighbor, unfortunately, now that caused a lot of these cracks because they took all that stuff out.
Well, they gave you the impetus for the construction, the reimagination, and it is beautiful.
Thank you.
We struggle with that bird's eye maple, right? I remember with the faux finisher we
Yeah.
were utilizing there. We were just trying to get the right amber. And usually, in many instances, we're trying to avoid amber, right? And,
Right.
and most of the time. But on that one, to be kind of, I think, true to the time period, there was it's almost
Mixing
like
old with new.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, trying
That
to
was
make it all
very-
look like it's part of the same.
how do we make it look 100
hand.
years old, right? So how do we give it that old oil and amber? And that was a challenge.
Well, except for this isn't 100 years old. This is 1986.
Oh, this one, yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
With the rest
that
of the
one.
house, exactly.
Yeah, those cabinets is all I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So can we answer any questions, comments from?
It's really beautiful, everything, both projects. Do you share the space in Brooklyn?
So, because of the series of events, I actually moved out of there, rented out the 3 apartments, and moved to the Hudson Valley. This is partly because I moved because of the gas work. I had to get out because there was no heat, hot water, and then COVID. So for about a year, there was nothing going on. And I moved up to the country house and stayed there. We just relocated. And
How long have you had the townhouse in Brooklyn?
1986.
Wow.
Yeah, my first renovation was that center, 2 floors. That in particular.
So there's 3 apartments?
3 apartments, which I attained gradually over the years. Never, ever expected to be able to do that. Never, ever. But it did work out, yes.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So many times when I leave a client's home, I have home envy. I share
get
that
very
very
sad.
much. Yeah, like you spend so much energy and effort there, and you're focused on it, and then you have
to say
you
goodbye.
You have to leave it.
Yes.
I'd love to enjoy a scotch and a coffee there at some point.
We get very attached to our projects.
Yeah, so I feel.
Well, I even though I don't live there, I didn't want to sell the house because I want to always have the option to move back. And I feel like I have become the caretaker of this house. I committed myself to fixing it, maintaining it, making it look better than it ever has. My goal and my dream was to redo the facade and bring back the stoop that was lost basically over the years. And I did that, but I just never thought that I would not get to be there every day to enjoy it. It's kind of bad timing, but anyway.
One day.
That's actually a really unique moment, I thought, on the upper floor where you have the plexiglass.
Glass.
Yeah,
It's
the
glass.
yes.
Yeah. Glass over the brick wall, the
It's
original brick
beautiful.
wall.
Yeah. When we discovered that, this was the first time I had seen that, and you get to see all the texture, all the plumbing pipes right behind that, and that was it's really unique.
That's where I do testing on myself.
Yeah.
That was quite a challenge to get all the trades in the right order, doing the right thing, because one depended on another. The floor continues underneath the tub, so you see it through the glass. You have to. There's so many other issues involved in trying to expose things that you didn't normally expose.
Right.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unique.
Richard, did you want to add something?
Oh, no.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I was curious about the Tuxedo Park project and the landscaping. Were those mature trees planted as mature trees, or did you build within the trees that were existing? How did that?
We tried to save as many trees as possible, and again, that was one of the mandates from the clients. And we ended up saving about 60% or not disturbing about 60% of the site in locating the house and winding the driveway through the trees. Yeah.
I love the flat roof. You have a green roof there,
Green
right?
roofs, exactly.
So did you use a local Tuxedo Park landscaper, or did you?
We worked with Janice Parker, landscape designer. There's a rock garden, an exterior rock garden between the 2 wings. I think an upcoming photograph will show that.
I do think, though, I thought the plants were planted locally by somebody from Tuxedo Park, because Janice is kind of the visionary and amazing. Yet another co-collaborator.
For such a modern house. Yeah.
She's remarkable.
Yes. For such a modern house, though, it really is in its element. I mean, it just
Well,
seamlessly fits in there.
I always like to say I can do anything inside a house. The exterior remains a mystery to me, and she just came in and made it feel like it had been there forever, because the Zen garden, which is coming up, and this whole swath was all new planting.
It's beautiful.
Did you have a painter? How did you do that?
So those panels were hand painted by Alex Turco, who's an artist. I think he's based in Miami, and he does all of these beautiful kind of nature-inspired finishes. Oh, there's the Zen garden, actually, that Richard was talking about. And so the client originally sort of liked the notion of onyx panels, and onyx just doesn't come in slabs that are 10 feet high that I'm aware of. It may be some magical place, but Alex is also magic and was able to do them and kind of adjust the scale. So it's really remarkable when you're walking through that corridor, because you have green on the left and green on the right, and it's reflective. So it's just this wonderful dialogue between the natural outdoors and the created indoor outdoors.
Exactly.
And also, I think collaborating, we were discussing the other day, the piece in the dining room, how that came to be.
Oh, with Corey?
Yeah, I think.
So I don't know if there's a great photo of it, but we also along the way worked with great furniture designers, and among them wood furniture, Corey Springer, who I've worked with for the better part of, well, as long as he's had his business, so a long time. And he worked with us to do a custom buffet that I think is about 17, 18 feet long. And I couldn't remember if it's in there.
I definitely noticed it. It's
Oh,
incredible. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, he did a great job, and it was just wonderful. Like all along the way, we shared photos of the site and the house as it was evolving with everybody we brought in. So everybody had great respect for the architecture and kind of said, "Oh, I have an idea." So that was a fun. There were a lot of aha moments, and I have to go back to the clients who really all along the way were like so happy to take the journey with us. So we were really fortunate.
That's really important to have them
It makes
sign off on all of that.
The proof is in the end result when there's a great client who's allowing you to sort of do what you do, giving you space, but also giving you feedback. So in this case, we had kind of the magic secret sauce of everything gelling together. Oh, and there are more wood furniture custom pieces that Corey did as well, the night tables. So yeah, that was, we brought in people we love to work with and challenge them to create something.
And these
even
walls,
better.
these lapis walls, Richard, are just tremendous.
The stone was from Mozambique, wasn't it?
I think so.
Sodalite.
The natural materials in the house were really stand out. I mean, and that was a collaboration with nature again, but they're pretty remarkable.
Very unusual.
Yeah.
With regard to collaborating both with other members of the trade as well as with your clients, do you find that technology has made it easier or more challenging?
Probably easier in many ways because it's easier to communicate, but technology is always more challenging because everyone expects an immediate response and answer and decision, and we're not meant to do that. We're not computers, we're people, and it takes time to kind of absorb things and think about it, and whether it's for yourself or a client, we all need time to absorb the choices. So
I also think on a Zoom call, you can see a fabric, but you can't touch it, right? You can't really get into it where the romance isn't there in the same way as a flat Zoom presentation.
that is true. But you could send the samples after.
Of course.
I think for us, the COVID helped us become more adept at communicating with using technology, but it can't replace the feeling like when you walk in here, like the materiality, the richness, this sort of that evocative depth, and even sharing the space. Being able to sit at a table with somebody and talk about architecture, design, what our thought was for a house, for our vision. That doesn't get replaced. We look at technology. For us, I look at technology as a supplement, so just another kind of tool in the bin.
Right.
But yeah, it will never replace the touching, smelling kind of.
And the color
feeling.
doesn't translate in the
Never.
same way.
Yeah, it's true.
From a construction standpoint, the technology has been great for us.
Yeah.
We get to take
Renderings.
pictures and render, and we get to mark up, and when we issue RFIs and questions, we get to in a very neat way all of a sudden attach a photograph with a red line and a little solution, or all of that. So
You're really good at that. You are
Andrew's
really
better
good.
than I am, one of our site supers. But yeah, we utilize a software system. I feel like we're much better for it.
So they give a report where they take pictures of what was done, what was finished, what are the issues, what is, what's next. So even if you're not there, you know what's happening.
So it's like a weekly report.
Depends. It can be daily. Depends on what's going on. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it's always intended to be transparent and honest, even when it's bad news, right? It just you put it out there.
Besides enjoying margaritas, what other parameters or character traits or what do you look for when you're looking to collaborate with a partner?
Someone you can communicate easily with. Sometimes you can talk about something and you know the other person understands what you're talking about, and you know that they can respond in a way that you need them to, and that you can, if there's misunderstandings or if something's not clear, you can figure it out together, and that you know that when you call that it will be taken care of. Those are really important things. Sometimes you just can't communicate easily to people. I don't know why. It's just, for whatever reason, it works that way. But
It's always great if you don't have the person that you're looking for, word of mouth, ask another designer that you trust. You want somebody who's kind of on the same page that you are, same level. You can look at websites. Oftentimes, and we were talking about this, when you're hired by a client, the designer may be hired first and there may not be a builder or architect, or there's the builder or the architect. So it's the other person coming in, and it's generally the client looks to the first person they've hired to say, who would you recommend? Who would be a great partner to work with on this project? Would you guys agree?
Yeah,
Tend to agree with that? Yeah.
I would totally agree. I think you can get a great feel just from a cup of coffee whether or not you feel like the relationship is going to go in a good direction. If you kind of understand what the other person is talking about, and I think it's just about humans connecting in a normal, nice way. And you could probably further that to say you'd probably be good collaborators together.
yeah, and it's also knowing what standards you're considering to be important. You could say to somebody who you know thinks like you do, I want a really good paint job here. Now, somebody who doesn't think the way you do may say, okay, good paint job is something really cheap. But maybe you touch it and it feels like sandpaper. So it's not going to be a good paint job to me. So it really depends on knowing that your priorities are in the same place, so you're talking the same language. And when you say, I need it to be this way, they understand what you're talking about. And not that they're thinking something totally different and you end up surprised. Oh my gosh, I don't care this $10. I'll spend $20. I want it to be perfect. Different. Matters.
It does.
And also collaborations with showrooms. So collaborations continue across so many boards of this industry, but having those showrooms that you work with a lot, right? We only have, I know most of us have our top 10, let's say, and maybe that's a lot, that we always go back to, and continuing to have that kind of relationship and relationship building really pays off at the end of the day. They become an advocate and help you. They'll find fabrics for you if their stock not available. They'll be eagle-eyed to let you know the minute something opens up or when it's coming back in. So again, it's all across the industry. You have to think about every avenue of what it takes to get to the finished product and to make it a perfect one.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Anyone else?
I'll step forward a little bit more.
Thank you.
So, question for the panel: so we just relocated back from LA, and having those partnerships. It's the lifeline to our business, right? To be successful. So, do you have any advice in tackling a new city and creating these new relationships?
So, are you a designer or architect? What's your?
Interior design.
Okay. So I think we can all give you advice. Do you want to start, Richard?
Well, I defer to the designer.
Okay. Judy?
First, I assume, did you have a practice in Los Angeles?
So we're like 70, 30, 60, 40, so we're back and forth. So kind of starting, I haven't been back in New York in almost 7.5 years now.
Well, you're back in a great city. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm born and raised here, so it's great to be back. But now, really realizing how long it took me to ramp up in LA and be able to find those great partnerships. And now, coming back post-pandemic, I'm finding the city is different. the relationships, the energy, things of that nature. So
I might start with relationships I already have. I suspect you work with showrooms and vendors in Los Angeles that are also here. And I'm constantly, Jennifer and I were talking about this yesterday, I'm constantly asking, I ask people we trust for recommendations, whether it be one of our fabric vendors or whatever, like, who do you know? Because somebody who operates at a certain level, who understands our taste level, will inevitably know somebody else at that taste level. And that snowballs. And you can find really wonderful resources unexpectedly. And I think we work with vendors all over the world. And I'm constantly always like, hey, where should I go? What else should I look for? What's new? And I think that's an easy thing to do. There's a lot happening in New York. There's a lot happening in Los Angeles, and just being curious and asking people. At least for myself, I'm always happy to share resources.
I am too. I don't understand the mentality where people don't want to share, because there is more than enough business for everybody out there, and it doesn't bode well. But I'm happy to help you if you wanted to email me, or I'm sure the team over here feels the same way.
You want people that you like and do a good job to be successful.
Yes. Yeah, I want everyone to succeed.
Yeah.
We just did the same thing. We're going to be starting a project upstate in Germantown. First person that I emailed was Kathryn, who has a house in Rhinebeck. And I said, who are the painters that you know and trust that when you say is going to be a good paint job, it's going to truly be what we expect as a good paint job.
Yeah, no, sharing information is great. Does anyone else have anything to say in closing? Any words of wisdom, or
Definitely.
Follow your dream.
Follow your dream.
Just do it.
It's not glamorous. You're going to be a schlepper.
but enjoy it. 'Cause it's not glamorous, but it's really fun.
Oh, it's really fun. And you have to keep a sense of humor.
Yeah, always a sense of
Always.
Lots of coffee.
Lots of tequila.
Tequila, coffee.
And follow each other.
Right, and follow each other on Instagram. Everyone should support each other.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a really important. Engage, right? Yeah, Instagram seems to be way more important than websites these days, too.
Agree.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Thank you, Castel. This was great.
Yes.